felt from the West Coast perspective, that's our Jesus.
Yeah.
It's Los Angeles is Jesus. Sometimes when you look at pictures and you look at it, it's almost scary, man.
Yeah.
You really can't put it in words. He was really Los Angeles' own.
Yeah.
He was the representation of what LA was like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at the impact that he had. You know what I'm saying? Like the same impact that Jesus had. Like a lot of people didn't know him, but they sure wanted to know about him once he passed away.
All right.
And then once they found out about him, they understood what his legacy was about. Now his legacy is living even bigger with him not being here. So that's why I say I ain't never seen Jesus, but I've been hearing about him. We know that, you know, if you believe in him, this is gonna happen because your grandparents and the book of the Bible been giving you all this information. It's like that's what he is now.
All right.
When we gone, that's what he's gonna be like, because you can't touch him, you can't see him, you only have images of him, and his image looked like Jesus. It's the way his shape was, and then the bone structure and the eyes and all that. I'm looking
around him that, you know, he was like the Jesus of our fucking time. You know what I mean? And I know other people said that, but I feel like that because it's like Jesus was a regular person. You know what I'm saying? Like I know in the Bible it says that he did all types of magical shit. You know what I'm saying? But none of us ever saw it. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is Jesus could have very well, to what I believe is he was just a regular person that did real shit, that did good shit, that did humble.
So let's get into it. The premise of my book is that Nipsey was the closest thing we came to seeing or experiencing Jesus, all right, in our lifetime. I know, whoa, slow down. I know. No, I'm not a Jesus freak, and I'm not trying to convince you that Nipsey was Jesus. But what I'm trying to convey is this idea that if there was anyone alive whose life was close to, near to Jesus's life and its impact and in its resonance with people, it's Nipsey. All right. Why do I think that? Well, I'm not alone in this thought, of course, because people have already mentioned this. We've already heard from Snoop, Jermaine Dupri, and most recently, I remember just last night I watched the video. Glasses Malone. There was also a mention by Trey D.
Yeah, nobody returned fire. Because, you know, you would, I mean, you don't know what would have happened, but had he shot once and then somebody pulled out a gun or something like that, and it was now dangerous, he wouldn't be able to, you know, Nipsey might still be alive today.
It was just everything was perfect for that to happen the way it did. You know, just from the lack of retaliation and everything. It was like it was ordained, man. It was preordained. You know, God don't make no mistakes. I'm a firm believer of that.
All right. These are just some of the mentions from the people who were, you know, close to within his circle, or within the circles, of the in the hip hop industry. And if anyone, within those circles, if anyone would know, it would be them, those, closer to him. Now, that's not to say that these men were within his inner circle. We know that the inner circle consisted of, his partners his partners who were members of the All Money In team, from his brother, Black Sam, to Adam, Jay Stone, Pac-Man, Jorge, and all right. Please excuse me if I feel like as if I know these men, and I haven't even, I never met any of them. Okay, of course, I never met Nipsey. Well, let me continue with this thought, because yes, I never met Nipsey, but what then qualifies me to say this or to bring this to your attention? Well, it's my story that I want to share with you. It's my story, okay? And my story took place in the desert, all right? I was living in the Middle East. In particular, I was living in the Sultanate of Oman. It's a country that borders the United Arab Emirates, as well as Yemen, and just across the Red Sea, there's Iran. Excuse me. And I lived there for about 7 months. And while I was there, Nipsey was assassinated, and his death, excuse me, his assassination, his murder, resonated throughout the globe. And I experienced that. I witnessed that because my colleagues in the desert were familiar with Nipsey's music and who he was and what he stood for. And even though I was far removed from my hometown of Los Angeles, the reverberations of Nipsey's murder could still be felt. All right. So my story takes place in the desert. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because although you may have heard this same sentiment already expressed by, as I mentioned, Jermaine Dupri, Snoop Dogg, Glasses Malone, and Trey D, and perhaps others. And forgive me if I don't know, if I haven't seen a video where this same sentiment was was reiterated by someone else, but these men made those statements, and perhaps you already agree. Perhaps you're already on the same wavelength. You knew Nipsey's impact because you followed his career. You were a fan, or you purchased his music and supported his movement. So perhaps what I'm saying, or what I'm reiterating, is nothing new to you. But what is new, or what will be new, is my story, the one that I'm going to share with you in my book. All right. This is my book right here, 109. Okay. Yes, I'm selling my book. All right. $10.90. I have 4 different colors. All right. Here we have 109 green, or 109 money, excuse me, and 109 Nipsey, for blue. We also have 109 royalty, purple, and 109 crimson, the original one. All right, yes, I want you to buy my book. But why should you buy it? Because this is a unique story. All right. Yes, it's the same premise. All right. Nipsey was the closest we came to seeing or experiencing Jesus in our lifetime. Well, in particular, in my lifetime. All right. I'm 41 years old. So, what that's like. That's midlife, right? Over the hill, as they say. So for some of you younger folk, you may not, there may come another person who exemplifies all of these attributes that you would imagine Jesus, holding. But anyhow, my story. 7 days after Nipsey's murder, after his assassination, I saw a cross in the sky. A cross. Okay? Let that marinate. Okay? I want to convey to you what this experience was, what my experience was, okay? When Nipsey was murdered, I felt as if my hero had been unjustly, what is this? As Shakespeare would say, removed from the mortal coil, right? He was unjustly taken from us. So I was upset. And I had 7 days to, ponder, sort of pontificate and to conjecture and wonder what the heck happened. Who was behind this event? Okay, was it the CIA, the FBI? Was it Los Angeles Police Department? Was it the Rolling 60s? What was behind it? Was it Rock Nation? Excuse me. Who did this? Okay, because at that point in my life, I was very much drawn to, Nipsey's movement. I was all for Nipsey's movement. That it wasn't always that way. When Nipsey released his first record, I looked at Hustle in the House, and I thought, whoa, that's too gangster for me. Because I was a college student and I had other ideas about myself and my life. And I thought, that's not the path that I want to go down. So when I saw that video, I thought, no. That's too gangster. It's dope. I like it. That's very cool, but it's not the path that I want to go down. So I wasn't always a Nipsey fan the way that I was, the way that I became, the way that I was drawn, the way that I returned to his music, right, and returned to his story, all right? So when he was murdered, I was distraught, and I had a whole week to ruminate, to think about, man, what happened to Nip? How did this happen? Who did it? What's behind it, okay? I talked with my my former colleague and a good buddy of mine, Herbert, and we just ran through different scenarios. Of course, we were both removed from Los Angeles. I was in the Middle East, and Herbert was in America, but I believe he was either in Texas or Florida or another state. So we were just watching YouTube videos and trying to, trying to figure it out, trying to do our detective work to figure out what the heck happened, as I'm sure millions of people, did around the globe. Now, that's what I did for about 7 days. Talked to my buddy Herbert. We talked about the details. We tried to figure it all out to no avail. And 7 days after Nipsey's assassination, I was going to work as I regularly do. It was a Sunday, if my memory serves me correctly. Excuse me. And I walked outside of my home. I looked into the sky and I saw a cross. All right. Now, this is such an important point because I immediately thought of the number 7. I thought, man, 7, a cross, Nipsey. These were the things that immediately jumped out at me. And personally, I was excited. I was like, yo, this is unbelievable what's happening, what I'm witnessing right now. All right. Because, the timeline, it fit together so well that, I believe that, this was a sign, okay, from the spiritual realm, from the universe, from God. This was a sign. And I was the communicator. I'm the messenger. I'm the one who has to tell the public. This is the way that I felt in that moment. I said, oh my gosh, wow. Many men many men of the Bible have had experiences, with God in the desert. Okay, if I can, recall, I believe Moses was in the desert, and Moses met the burning bush, and and God communicated with Moses through the burning bush. Now, I'm not the best Christian. I haven't read my Bible through and through, so I'm not a Bible scholar here. Excuse me. But I do want you to buy my book, okay? Because even if I believe we don't have to be Bible scholars for us to for this story and for my story to resonate with you, okay? We don't have to be Bible scholars here, but we can go to the Bible scholars and ask them, what does this mean? Well, in my case, I thought of the number 7. I thought of the 7 days of creation, right? On the 7th day, God rested, and then I thought about what does the number 7 mean in other schools of thought, in numerology, and somewhere I found that the number 7 means completion. And when I saw that cross in the sky, I thought about it and I said, okay, maybe that's a sign that Nipsey's mission was complete. And so all of these ideas were just rushing to me, and I was very happy seeing this cross in the sky. All right, so you're wondering about the cross. I probably should have addressed this sooner, but I was living in the city of Nizwa in the country of Oman. And over the course of perhaps 7 months, okay, I noticed that there were no planes, no airplanes flying overhead, let's say at a low elevation or altitude. And by low, I mean, I imagine that a low altitude would be 10,000 feet. All right. If you live in the city, as I do, I'm from Los Angeles. Excuse me. Well, in Los Angeles, we have the international airport within just miles of any particular community, any particular neighborhood, whether you live in Baldwin Hills, Culver City, Santa Monica, where else? Huntington Park, Compton, Linwood. All right. LAX, Los Angeles International Airport is nearby, and planes are taking off from there daily. Well, it's not uncommon. Actually, as I'm filming this video, I'm listening. I can hear a plane flying overhead right now. It's not uncommon to see airplanes in the sky at different elevations, different altitudes. That's not uncommon, all right? Because in Los Angeles, there is an international airport. Well, in the city of Nizwa, where I lived in the country of Oman, there isn't an international airport, but for, miles, probably about 40 miles at least. And that would be the Muscat International Airport, right? So because there isn't a lot of air traffic, it is extremely unlikely, it is rare, it is uncommon to see airplanes flying overhead, all right, at pretty much any altitude. Now, airplanes do fly overhead, and I noticed them when I lived in Oman. However, I rarely saw them during the daytime. I always saw them at night, and I would only see them, at what I imagined was about 38,000 feet, extremely high, extremely far away from my, from where I was on the ground, extremely high up. And so you could see the small lights, and that plane was never going to land anywhere, around my home or in that community. So those airplanes were always flying, very high. All right. I'm mentioning these details because on that day that I saw those lines that, intersected to form a cross, well, they weren't at that elevation. They weren't at that altitude where I usually see the airplanes, if I see them at all. Okay. I'm sticking with the idea that, planes just don't fly overhead there, but then again, they do, but at a great altitude, okay? And they're pretty much aren't visible, but only at night. So that day, 7 days after Nipsey's assassination, I saw two lines in the sky that intersected to form a cross, and they were at about a 10,000 foot elevation. So they were much lower to the ground. They were much lower to the ground. They were visible, clearly visible for anyone to see. And they were, it was almost a perfect, it was a perfect cross. These two lines intersected. Anyone could see it. It was a huge vision. It was a huge, event to witness, because the question that lingered in my mind was, where did those lines come from? Because I lived in that city for 7 months, and there were no planes flying overhead at that altitude. All right. Daily, there was no incidence of any plane flying over at that altitude. And then the next step is, not only was it that planes weren't flying at that altitude, but those planes would have had to have flown in a particular manner such that their flight path would form a cross, right? They would have had to, intersect. One plane would have to, travel north to south, and the other, east to west, in order to form that cross. So there were so many questions. It was like, okay, this is 7 days after Nipsey's assassination. These are two lines that I have no idea where they came from. And, everything just, and Nipsey was by that time he was gone. So all of these questions weighed on my mind. And I walked out of my home. I looked up, I saw that. And I said, whoa, that's unique. And I said, seven, it's been 7 days. This is the Sunday. This is that day Nipsey was murdered. And, here we are going into, here we are going into another week. And, so that's what happened. That is what happened. And I saw that. I looked in the sky, I saw it, and I had no idea what it was. But all of these ideas, that rushed, to me, really made me happy and actually excited, because I began to put together this story. I began to understand why, Nipsey had been assassinated. I had understood something. The number 7 told me that Nipsey's murder is not to be, a sad event, but actually it is a moment where he was taken from us because his mission on earth was complete. You see, the number 7, as I did some research, the number 7 represents or means completion. And I thought, well, Nipsey's mission was complete. And how interesting, and what a coincidence that he was taken from us at the age of 33, when Jesus was taken from us, or taken from, the world. So these coincidences and these things just really resonated with me deeply. And I knew in that moment I had a story, and I really had to share this story. And I remember telling Herbert, I said, man, a lot of people are probably going to associate Nipsey with Jesus, or and I don't know if I said it, if I phrased it like this, but I know for certain I told him, I said, Herbert, other people have their stories, about what happened to Nipsey, but I said, but I've got the best one. And that's how I feel. I feel as if this story is remarkable. It is unique. It is so intriguing, for someone to, listen to, study it, analyze it. All right. Because this is all the truth. This is literally what happened. And I believe that it's my, mission to share this story, all right, with the world, because it is so profound. Of course, I'm not trying to lead anyone. I personally, I'm not trying to lead anyone to believe anything. I'm only trying to echo what is already there, right? That's what this is all about. So 109 is that story. 109 is my book. Buy it. Come check it out. It's a short read, right? It's about 40 some odd pages, 40 days, 40 nights. Ooh, all these numbers. Wow, And the thing about the numbers, I'm not a numerologist, or I wasn't a numerologist before, I wrote this book, but I had to, do a little bit of research. And I guess all of this is to say that, just open your mind, be open-minded, and just take a look at what's inside, and, have fun with it, trip off of it. But of course, enjoy your life. I'm not trying to change your mind, change your thoughts. Just trying to, augment it. Check it out. 109. All right, y'all. Peace.